100 new laws going into Georgia, did you know you had 100 new laws going into effect July 1st? Let's talk about them. Georgia, HB 121. If you apply for an apartment and you pay an application fee and you do not get approved for the apartment, now the landlord has to refund you your application fee. Georgia, we have HB 527 and HB 627. They're installing cameras on school buses now to catch violators. And this is HB 194. Georgia, I'm sorry to tell y'all, but no more balloon releases. You can no longer release a balloon in Georgia if it has helium in it. HB 198, Georgia, you can no longer use bounce houses in Georgia if the wind is higher than 15 miles per hour. HB 136, Georgia now has a child tax credit. I want to read this because I want to make sure y'all don't get me wrong. HB 136 offers a credit covering up to 50% of your federal child and dependent care expenses plus $250 per qualifying child. HB 375, Georgia can now take cocktails to go. And when I say this is permanent, you can go to a restaurant and if you have a cocktail, you can now take your beverage to go with you now. And this is permanent. Georgia, did you know you had 100 new laws going into effect July 1st? Let's talk about them. Georgia, HB 121. If you apply for an apartment and you pay an application fee and you do,
right? You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes,
I don't know. I would.
This is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in this.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right?
Good morning, and welcome to another edition of Let It Be Known. I am your host, Stacy Brown, and it's good to be back from our convention in Georgia.
That is right, Stacy. Good morning, Let It Be Known family. I'm your co-host, Niele Anderson, and so much is happening constantly across this nation. And of course, we're bringing you the headlines that are impacting Black America. So much, Stacy, so much.
Well, and you saw the video there, and that's Georgia, all these new laws. And it's important. I'm so glad that Greer did that. It's important that we keep folks, Niele's, updated on these things. You might not live in Georgia, but somehow that's going to affect you some way.
And I think what happens is if we pay attention to the pattern of the Republican Party, everything with them starts on a local level. So as you pay attention and see what's happening in local concentrated Republican territory across the country, it begins to swell up to state and federal levels. Just like what we see that's happening in Miami, where they've decided to push their November election back to next year, which means the mayor will stay in power and everybody else for another year. And you know they're saying that Donald Trump is trying to stop the 2026 election. So things like that, local issues, we definitely have to pay attention to.
Yeah, that's a test case, right? Yeah, a real test case. And Florida has been doing stuff like elected officials. They've been judges. They have basically fired elected judges. So they've been testing the waters there for a minute in Florida.
For sure.
So here we are. Yeah, they canceled the. How do you do that though? Right? How you figure? Wait a minute. We have some rules, some laws, some constitutional grounds, but they're doing it.
Yeah, they're doing it. They're doing it fast. They're doing it swiftly, and they're doing it together, which is something that we have not yet to see in Democratic Party.
Yeah, wow. And as RNG points out, book banning, to your point, began on a local level. Now it's nationwide. So. Yeah. So you have to pay attention to these local issues for sure. That's where it rises. Everything rises.
Yep.
So here we are. Well, we got a special guest today we're going to get to shortly. Folks, you know him well. He is the epitome of a child star. And has grown up. Who's grown up.
Yeah.
Grown up. So we'll get to Emmanuel Lewis a little bit later in the show this morning. But first, the Trump administration is seeking to cut the only federal after-school program in the nation, the 21st Century Community Learning Centers, a program created by the federal government, which provides about $1.3 billion for after-school and summer activities that reach about 1.4 million students nationwide. The White House budget proposal currently under consideration by Congress would eliminate the program and 17 others that serve lower income and under-resourced K-12 students as part of a $12 billion cut to the education department spending next year. it, Look, it is what it is. It walks like a duck. It talks like a duck. It is a duck. And this is all a part of Project 2025. It's all about racism. And, that's why I was seeing all the heat that Nelly got over the weekend. Because again, when you start defending any of this, then you are totally complicit.
I understood Nelly's point, but Nelly, I mean, who cares? This big ugly bill that this is all affiliated with is going to impact so many people of color. And I'll say it again. I say it all the time. And I got it from the community. When America gets a cold, Black folks get pneumonia. And so this big ugly bill that is taking place, and they're arguing in the wee hours of the morning. You can wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and see a member of Congress in their car or coming out of session. They are going back and forth about this bill. I know Senator Raphael Warnock out of Georgia spoke early this morning. And then you have like legacy organizations that are coming together. We talked to Mark Morial, the president of the Urban League, this weekend. And, they're coining it, Stacy, the big ugly bill. NAACP is calling it that. You have the National Council of Negro Women. They are adopting and they are coming up with the talking points that America needs to hear. This is a big, ugly bill that is going to decimate our country, the working class. Yeah, go ahead, Stace.
No, you are spot on. Because cutting these programs and cutting the funding on these things, this isn't about fiscal responsibility. Mm-hmm. It's an attack on working families who rely on them to help their kids succeed. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, there's so many things in this bill that are going to impact us. Just so much. And so there is a campaign, and they are urging everyone to call the U.S. Capitol switchboard. The number is 202-224-3121. That's 202-224-3121. We will be pushing that as well all week. Call Congress. Call that number and then find out who your local representative is, who your senator is, and then pick a senator that you don't like and call them too. But we gotta let them know that we coming for them. Their constituents have to let them know that if they pass this bill, they're on the chopping block next year.
Well, they actually hope to. There's some hope that they can get this bill done today. So your calls are urgent right now.
They said Trump wants it done by the 4th of July.
Yes.
And so on the flip side for us, independence and freedom looks like crushing this bill, not passing it. That is his independence is to pass it. Our independence and freedom is to crush it.
Well, speaking of his freedom and his independence, the Supreme Court, the most corrupt in the history of this country, has given him a 6-3 ruling that doesn't just limit lower courts. It hands Donald Trump sweeping power to trample constitutional rights unchecked. From now on, whether your child is recognized as a citizen depends on what state you're in. Your rights can be revoked on a whim, and you'll have almost no recourse to stop it. And that's really what the Supreme Court ruled in a case called Trump versus CASA Inc. It was a 6-3 ruling. You know who the six were who voted for Trump. and the 3 who went against him. Now, the decision, of course, green lights a future where Donald Trump can literally erase your citizenship and strip your rights, and you'll be powerless to stop him.
Yeah, that is crazy. NAACP released a statement saying this ruling echoes a shameful pattern in American history of courts stepping aside and allowing injustice to rush in. This is just another, they're moving together, folks. They are moving together, and so we have to have a counteract, and the Democratic Party and the leadership within it is failing America. I mean, I think it has to be said. The Democratic Party is failing its voters, the people that support the party, and they need to get their shit together immediately.
Well, yeah, and listen, and I can't, no one can argue with what you just said, but we can't also take the Republicans and the MAGA folks off the hook. The cruelty, the evilness in which they are doing things cannot be understated, and it cannot be ignored. Yeah, it's unfortunate that Democrats have time and again shown themselves to be so weak and so feckless and defenseless, and no resistance on their part. As you've been saying for a while, it's the people who is showing the resistance. The Democrats are nowhere as a collective, nowhere to be found.
Yeah, the unity is lost. And then the voices and leadership that we do have speaking up, the party does not embrace them or support them. And I'm talking about particularly Black women. And I think that as Black women, we can find that highly offensive, being that we are the largest amount of people that supported the party last year, 92%. Find me another group in this country that did better than that. Okay. So when I see things like, them denying Jasmine Crockett a chair seat, when I see like her feeling defenseless in a party that she has repped, like she has her sorority, and how they just keep slapping her in her face, I find that offensive, and I take that personally, like a lot of other Black women do. So just when we get ready to lace up our shoes and head outside, we're like, no, I'm good.
Well, the Stephanie Humphrey channel says that I hope the NAACP does more than release statements. I am unsure if our Black leaders are communing for a collective national call to action.
Well, they are. Let's just say this. I think a high form of resistance is them denying an invitation to Donald Trump to come to the convention. That's a huge statement. In the NAACP's history, they've always invited the president. This is the first time. We talked to Mark Morial. We were talking about the Big Six, which was like the institutional organizations. He said now it's the Big Eight. So they're meeting and they're doing what they can. And I think that they really understand that this is their moment. And they are collectively coming together. I think we just have to kind of filter in, and if I'm gonna lace up my boots for anybody at this point in time, it's gonna be for us.
And us only, huh? Well, we have stated it, and I'll state it again. The cruelty, the pure evil of Trump world shows it has absolutely no bottom. Trump plans to visit so-called alligator Alcatraz this week. It's the Everglades detention camp where Governor Ron DeSantis gloated that escapees would be eaten by alligators. Hundreds of protesters, including Native Americans, defending sacred lands, lined the highway as trucks rolled in this weekend. The governor used emergency powers to rush construction, ignoring endangered species and human rights. By July, 5,000 immigrants will be caged in swamps, crawling with predators, just how this administration wants it. And so we see it. Trump and Ron DeSantis aren't just jailing immigrants. They're proudly creating a death trap where humans could be fed to alligators.
Yeah, this is theatrics. The bigger part, to me, the thing that America needs to be paying attention to is who's getting the money for these detention centers. Yeah, Trump and them want to say, oh, look, we're building an alligator. Oh, the theatrics. But the bottom line is Donald Trump, his clan, and privatized prisons like Geo and Core Civic are making a shit ton of money off of the American people. Okay, off and let me just say this, Stacy, ain't no alligators gonna be eating them inmates. You know why? Because it's a price on their head for everybody in that detention center. Every undocumented person or person of color in those detention centers, there is a price for each one of them. So they ain't gonna be feeding them to no alligators. That would be profit lost. Okay, that's just three theatrics.
But
Don't fall for it.
and we laugh because it does sound it just sounds so out there. But the thing about it is, when you think about it, you just as you're mentioning it, profit loss. These are human bodies. These are human people, human beings, and it just has such a ringing of the transatlantic slave trade. Just every person, it's a price tag on this inmate, this slave, this. It's just how far we have fallen. I don't think that anybody in the 1950s and the 1960s during the civil rights movement,
Mhm.
when they were making incremental progress and they was making these little progresses here and there, I doubt that any of them could have foreseen us going back to that moment where we are talking about civil rights again.
Well, of course not, because they were fighting for civil rights. They're like, okay, let's get over this hump. But it's just I think that we have to be more strategic, and stop falling for the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like that little boy, it's bullshit. It's not the alligator swamp thing. I get it, but I am more focused on us having some real important conversations about privatized prisons in this country. That's what this is about. Donald Trump is profiting off of privatized prisons. Stephen Miller is profiting off of privatized prisons. And a lot of those Republican senators and representatives are profiting off of privatized prisons. This is a long game for him. And because African Americans only make up less than 13% of the population, the bigger profit in this country right now is the brown community. That's what this is about.
Mhm. Yep, that's what it's all about, and it should be so troubling to more people than it seems that it is. It doesn't seem to bother as many people as you would expect. Um, this is horrible stuff, Niele. This what's going on here is just it's horrible. And you're right. The bigger conversation. It seems like every time we try to have that conversation, it never, as a collective, we don't follow through. The bigger conversation, you're right, has always been privatized prison and the money that they are making off of inmates throughout the country.
And they just keep getting funded. Core and Geo Civic, those are the two largest privatized prisons in this country. And so, if you really want to know what this is all about, as Maxine Waters said when we had Trump 1.0, follow the money.
Follow the money. And there's a whole lot of money. I remember years ago, Niele, doing a article for the Times. This was way back in the 2000s, early 2000s. It was about prison phone calls, and I later did a lot more for the Washington Informer as well on that same subject,
Hmm.
and how these private prisons, they were charging for a phone call. And I know President Obama stepped in on that, his
Hmm.
administration. But for a phone call, a simple phone call was costing as much as $60 to
Hmm.
make. And we talking about 1 minute phone calls.
For sure, yeah. It's a racket. I have a loved one that's incarcerated, and so the hoops that you have to jump to even communicate with them. There's a price tag on everything, to send them a text message, to putting money on their books, visitation. It's not just prison does not just impact the prisoner. It impacts the family that's associated with that person. And there is a high cost because we are paying to support our loved ones. And it just shouldn't be that way. And the rate is so high. Thank God now they have tablets. So they have these companies that the prisons contract with. So they get their tablets. But in order to even text them, it's a cost on every freaking thing, and it is atrocious how this system has set up this prison situation. And privatized prisons, they just have to go. And I think we were on a trajectory to get rid of them, but under a Trump administration, when you have Core and GeoCivic having their retreats on Trump golf courses, you tell me where that relationship is going.
100%. And
yeah,
as David Youngblood mentions, Mignon Clyburn tried to address that phone issue when she was with the FCC. And of course, Trump, as you said it right. Trump came in and all of this for-profit stuff, it's like the White House is totally today. You can't tell me that is not a commercial building now.
Right. Ava DuVernay too. If you wanna, she did an excellent movie back in the day to expose what was happening within the prison system. I can't think of the name of the movie, but it was like one of her. I think it was her first movie that she put out that addressed the prison system and just the taxing that it does on the loved one that is going through that time with the incarcerated. So it's a sad situation. It's heartbreaking. I know over the weekend, they announced that I think over 400,000 Haitians would be deported. And there was a video going viral. The Haitian community was kicking ICE's ass, okay? They came up in there trying to detain them, Stacy. And when I tell you, they was kicking ICE's ass, I'm like, see, that's what you call a resistance, a revolt.
The only problem, RNG says, Niele, is that they need to start wearing masks too, like ICE wears masks. But you're right. They fought back. They fought. But the thing about it is, again, shows you where the mindset and where this country is. They come in there, wear masks,
right?
And a lot of times they're in these unmarked vans, these kidnap vans where you've seen all the shows when people get kidnapped, these vans, they pull up to them and snatch them up. That's ICE for you. And they're asking you to identify yourself. They're not identifying themselves. And we've already had cases where folks have pretended to be ICE. You could buy a jacket anywhere, a black jacket with lettering that say ICE anywhere.
Right.
So it becomes a situation where if you have an altercation with them and you go to court, and if the court is doing its job correctly, how do you convict someone?
Right. I think we should be very careful as what's happening with these ICE agents, because there's a story that came out this weekend out of California in Huntington Park, where police arrested a man. And it's interesting how mainstream media coins headlines, because the headline is Huntington Park police arrest man possibly posing as a Border Patrol agent. Now, this man had all of the things that a police officer would have: the sirens, the what do you call it? The radio communication. He had a 9mm gun, and he had some ICE documentation in his car. But he was posing. They couldn't verify it or not. And so I think these are a lot of the profiles of these ICE agents that you have. Not only that, Stacy, he was arrested prior for DUI and human smuggling.
Human smuggling. Oh my goodness. Right.
And this happened, and I mean in the Huntington Park, there he is right there. And he was arrested. You don't know who these people are. So I say
Right.
fight back.
Well, and that's my point. It's like you don't know who they are. They come at you with masks on. They're armed. The first inclination, of course, would be for
Hmm.
most fight for your life.
Hmm.
So this it's it's crazy that we're even talking about this in America.
But it's too normalized. I think that as they say, we have to find a way to take over the algorithm. Because the algorithm right now, like you're saying, I mean, Nelly, I mean, okay, the reason why Nelly is trending, let's be clear, is because he has a show out, a reality show with Ashanti. So is it really about him trying to justify why he performed at a Trump ball, or is this about him trying to get people to watch his reality show?
Mhm.
Okay, he give a damn. He can give a damn. And so I think to my point of the algorithm, we have to find a way collectively to take over the algorithm to get these people to start paying attention. I think influencers are very important to do that. But I also think that the devil is in the detail, and that's what the mass majority of America are missing is the devil, the Trump clan I'm talking about, and the
Mhm.
details of what they're doing.
Well, and just again, speaking of Nelly, I just have to say that these individuals, Nelly has a right, yes, to support whomever he wants to, whether it
Hmm.
be Donald Trump or whoever. But what he and so many others like him fail to take into consideration when they start popping off is the absolute devastation of so many people who look like them and some who even looked up to them, the hurt, the devastation, the loss of jobs, the loss of health care, the loss of freedoms
Hmm.
at the hands of the guy you support and his administration. To me, no, you don't have to denounce that. That's your right. You have every
Hmm.
right to support him. But to come out and tell essentially your audience is predominantly people of color, black folks and other folks of color, to try and justify any of this right now, it is better to be quiet at times
Right,
than
right.
to
But he's
come out and do what and then to try to conflate the issue. Oh, Kamala, she's married to a white man anyway. What? Who cares? That white man wasn't hurting you. This white man is the white man that they're concerned about. The one that's at Pennsylvania Avenue right now. Nobody's concerned about Doug.
right, right, right. I think too what happens is sometimes, rich people are out of touch. In which not to switch reels, but I think it's relative of as to, Jeff Bezos and his now wife
Yeah.
over the weekend. People were protesting, and you had all of the 1% saying, let them, eat, let's eat cake.
Yeah.
They pulled a Marie Antoinette on us. And Oprah was there. Gail was there. I kind of figured, well, maybe this is because, she went up into space. They funded her trip. I don't know. Usher was there. You have the Kardashians there. And
Of
all of
course.
these things are happening around the world. And they're just over there unconcerned. Another person that they highlighted was Leonardo DiCaprio because he's such a huge advocate for climate justice. And so he had his cap all the way down so you couldn't see his face. But yeah, you should be embarrassed to be there if you're about climate justice and what Jeff Bezos is doing to our climate. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think that sometimes rich people, it doesn't really impact them And so they become out of touch as to what's happening.
Yeah, and folks, we do apologize. I understand that there is some sort of audio issues that's been going on this morning. I'm seeing it in the chat. Do apologize. We've been trying to straighten it out. Hopefully, we can work it out. Brother's gonna work it out. We
Yeah.
are we are expecting a guest this morning. So hang in there as we continue to talk about things that are going on today. I guess we have a moment, Niele, to go off script a minute and talk a little bit about Diddy, because Diddy's the jury gets the case today in the Diddy trial, and so it's going to be interesting. Starting in very shortly, we will now be on verdict watch.
I love it. Let's get this over with. Okay. I'm ready to get it over with. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. If I was a juror, and I mean, I've been paying attention, I don't think that I could say guilty. I would come back with a not guilty if it was me, based upon what was presented to me. Now, if you would have presented to me that it was a domestic violence, okay, I could say guilty. But the nasty man Diddy, that's his business.
The nasty man. Listen, the prosecutors did something in their closing arguments that was really interesting, and I don't know that I like this, because you brought these charges, and again, folks, I want to be clear. I could care less what happens to Diddy. I just want to be clear, but you brought these charges. And so it always, for me, it doesn't become about Diddy, it doesn't become about Michael Jackson or Kelly or Bill Cosby.
Mhm.
It becomes about the justice system, and how it always has been and continues to be a justice system for them and a justice system for us. And you brought these charges, and now you go to the closing arguments and you tell this jury that, listen, some, maybe even most of these incidents of the freak offs were consensual. But if you just find that one time, just one time, someone may have been coerced, or someone may have not really wanted to do it, then he's guilty on all the charges.
Right.
That's, to me, is crap. You said he coerced people. Your charge had the words coerced in it. You said that all of this, in your opening statements, and this is where juries have to pay attention, because you have to hold them accountable. When you make opening statements, the rule of thumb for lawyers, and David Youngblood knows this, that you have to meet. It's like a campaign speech. The only difference with a campaign, during the campaign speech, you make all these promises, and you know
Mhm.
good and well you're not going to fulfill 90% of them. But a opening statement in a criminal trial, when you make those statements, you are responsible to that jury to fulfill every single one of the things that you specified. The prosecutor got up and said, you can find him guilty of conspiracy, even though, and this is their words, folks, even though you might have seen evidence that his employees were just doing things on their own. It's still an enterprise.
Mhm.
That this wasn't, he didn't necessarily say, hey, I want you to do this for me down on the down low. It's crazy. It is absolutely insane.
Yeah,
But
it's
anyway,
insane. Yeah, we're on jury watch, and we will definitely keep you updated with that. As we get our guests ready, we have a few more headlines to run through. We were talking about Trump clan and deportation. Loose ends got me hanging on strings. The lead singer Jane Eugene reportedly has been detained by ICE for over a 19-year-old visa overstay. And so she's in a detention center.
in New York, I understand.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow. That is it's happening to everybody. If you if you got some melanin, it's horrible, Niele. And look,
Yeah.
I'm not making light of people getting detained at all. I think it's horrendous. And this this is just another one of the many examples we have.
Right, but I mean, if this is a story that'll help people get people involved, help people become more concerned because they see something that they like, then definitely we should be talking about it because at some point they're going to start coming after us. You know what I mean? Because they've already
Well, they got the
deported.
court ruling, right?
Right, and there was a black man that was born on a U.S. military base in Germany. He recently got deported to Jamaica, okay, because they said it wasn't on U.S. soil. Well, I thought any military base, wherever you were around the world, is considered our soil because, these are people that are serving our country. So his family, his parents are serving our country abroad. He's born abroad, comes back to the United States, and he gets deported. Well, he's been in the United States. He was born
Right.
on a military base. He's been deported to Jamaica. Why? Who knows? But this is a prime example, as in the words of Beyonce, ring the alarm. Because they're finding loopholes.
Folks, they have Niele and Greer's been getting on me recently about making a lot of references to Michael Jackson. This young lady makes so many references to Beyonce, it's not even close. Beyonce
Well,
the queen.
well, at least she's alive and on tour.
I
She's
see dead
relevant.
people.
Yeah, she's relevant. But I think our guest is here, and we're talking about pop culture. We're talking about Black creatives, and he is an icon within, especially for Gen X. I'm a Gen Xer, and I watched this show every week when it came on.
Oh,
Um,
he was an HBCU grad.
well, let's find out about it. Let it be known, family, welcome Emmanuel Lewis, and hopefully we have Ebonice Atkins with them as well.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
In 5, 4, 3, 2, hit
Good
There we
morning.
are.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Emmanuel?
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining the
it.
Black Presses. Let it be known. Certainly appreciate it. We know that you we know. I don't know how many people know that you are involved in some really good stuff that is actually coming up. Give us a
Well, I want
little.
to know about. Wait, I want to know about
Wait, go
when.
ahead.
What HBCU did you
Oh,
attend?
okay, go ahead.
CAU, the Mighty Mighty
Okay,
Panthers, North
okay, there
Carolina
you
University,
go.
of course.
I love it. I love it, and so that's why you're hosting this summit that's in Atlanta. That is helping Black creatives. So tell us about what is the RMF Summit.
Radio Music Film Alliance organization. It's a nonprofit organization, and it's after my dear heart of making sure that we give back to the community in an area that I might know a little something about, and that we're able to do this thing on August 15 and 16, and we're just looking to you know I always start off by saying, if you look at um the credits from music, if back in the day, you can look actually pick an album and you can find out what everyone did, you know what I mean, on when it
Right.
comes to music. When it comes to a TV show, there's at the end of it, they might spin it fast, but there's some goddamn credits over there, and it's what everybody did on that. And then lo and
Mhm.
behold, of course, you go to a movie theater and you go to a movie, especially if it's animation, you see even more credits on what people do. And with Georgia being the Hollywood of the South, people are always looking for some of the same similar jobs. They're not recognizing the depth of our industry. They're not recognizing, all these other areas and compartments that,
Mhm.
that is set in, places like LA. It's set in places like a little more New York and of course Canada, where all the business went to. But now that we have new laws and we have tax incentives, and I just heard about California putting back their incentives that they had been ignoring for decades. But
Hmm.
the whole point of the matter is that there are opportunities in this industry, and we can talk about them and we can explain them and we can go into depth because we have some of the greatest minds in the entertainment industry to talk
Hmm.
about them, from legal to technical to theoretical to everything. And so this whole brainchild of Renee and myself and Ebo. This it's about the ins and outs and making sure that you get in where you fit in, because a lot of people don't even know that they have gifts still yet, and these other areas that we might explain or showcase. They have
Hmm.
the ability to understand these other areas that, wait a minute, I'm pretty good at that, and that's a job, that's actually a career, that's a I can get
Right.
paid from doing that, you know what I mean,
Mhm.
365 or whatever. So our timing is different between pre-production, production, and post-production. But there's productions that are ongoing year round throughout all these different studios. There's something going on, and we still have not filled out in Georgia all these wonderful great positions. We've not filled them all out here in Georgia yet. We're still at the very early stages. We're just past the drop off. Now
Right.
we're setting in, but we still haven't filled out all these other areas. But it's still live, and the more that we sink our teeth into this thing called entertainment, I'm a lifer. So even though I've retired from acting, I could never retire from entertainment. Just
Right.
because it's what I breathe, it's what I see, it's what I think, it's what I dream, it's what I mean, it's all those
Emmanuel,
different.
you mentioned retiring from acting, which anytime someone says they retired, you have to applaud them. They made it. It suggests that you had a long career. You're done, but you also you're in the minority in the sense that child stars, so-called child stars, you started as a child. Um, you're able to and I hate to put it this way, Emmanuel, but I'm sure you could appreciate it. You're able to live to tell about it.
Ooh, I was just having a conversation with Todd Bridges the other day, and I was just meeting up because Jalil is over here in town, and he's filming a game show, Jalil White. And so
Hmm.
these are the people I grew up with, you know what I mean, or they grew up with me, one of the two. But and I speak to these guys, and there's so many different ones. Somewhere around here, Keisha's my neighbor, and she has lived to tell a tale. So many different great people that we grew up with, and it was a different Hollywood than it is now. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It was very, very different for young Black people to survive. There wasn't that very many of us, especially when I came along. It was the Facts of Life. It was Different Strokes, Punky Brewster, and
Silver spoon.
it just wasn't a lot of young kids my age. You know what I'm saying?
How
Around
did
my
you
age.
survive, Emmanuel? How did you survive?
Keeping God first. That was very important. I lived in my church when I was home. You know what I mean? I was still in the children's choir. My mama was on the usher bowl.
Okay.
So we gonna praise the Lord, in our house, and so that you have to give God all the glory when it comes to that. And I had a real
Hmm.
mama that cared more about her son than she did about the industry. That's a second huge factor. And but we here, we
Right.
started from the bottom and we here.
Now here.
You
Right.
know what I mean? I'm a PJ kid. I grew up from the PJs, the projects of Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, you know,
Right.
in
Do or die.
Lafayette Gardens. Everybody, y'all, shout out to my folks in Lafayette Gardens. I mean, it's different now, but when we came up, yeah, it's a little rough. You know what I mean? It was a little,
Right.
tight around the collars. You know what I mean? You better know what you're doing. Have your head on a swivel at any given time. You could be got, but it has changed a great deal now. But back in the day, woo, yeah.
Well, let's talk. Well,
Yes,
well,
sir.
let's talk about. Let's make sure we let the
Where's Ebo
black.
at?
We're looking for her, but we haven't seen her yet. But talk to us about who's speaking at the conference.
Oh my goodness. We have so many. Now I have to go to my sheet because we have so many people. We do this for 2 days, and
Okay.
so
What are the
we have.
days? Tell us the days.
Well, it was August 15th and 16th, and we have so many great people that are on this. Let me pull it up really quick.
Okay.
Um, uh, yeah.
Where is it being held at?
So we have fell in love with this hotel and at the Hilton airport in Atlanta. They've been so good to us. They have been so kind to us. And we're doing some really fun things with them. They're giving us so much latitude. I got to give a shout out to Renee Atkins. She is the bomb.com. She
Mhm.
is um the HNIC, okay? She know what she's doing. She's our marketing genius. She's our coordinator. She's our vice president. She's the
Mhm.
CFO. She's just the bomb. But we've got people like Camille Bright. Of course, Head Crack is hosting for us. Big Bro Williams. Shout it. Yeah, so we're loving all of
We
that.
like
They're
we
bringing
like
so
your
much.
passion about this, Emmanuel.
Say it again.
We love your passion that you have for this.
Because it's real. It comes from a real place. It comes from a real place of what we're trying to do, what we're able to do, what we've been doing. This is our third annual, so obviously
Mhm.
we're strumming along, and we are making progress. And there's a lot of these people that we know and love. These are not like names that we haven't never heard before. These are people
Right.
that we know, love, and you're like, oh, okay, they coming too. What's that's going to be about? How are we making that happen? We have our side president Eric Goins that's going to be here,
Mhm.
and can't wait to pick his brain because you know that's where I started from. You know what I mean? From
Mhm.
acting, and to have our president, SAG president here, that's amazing. He's coming in. Troy Taylor, Rashawn Ali, Wardell Malloy, Asika Fountain, Cameo Bright. We have so many great people. So many. Of course, Chris Coleman, um, Wanda Carter. She's a great attorney in this industry. They know so much to spread so much goodwill and knowledge along the way. And our panels are great. So if you're coming on Saturday or coming on Sunday, I mean, yeah, Friday and Saturday, man, these are just stuff that we just got to be. You guys got to be a part of it. We've got a great partnership with iHeart. You know, we, it's really interesting. You come to a lot of different folks, right? And they're
Right.
not, I've come to a lot of different brothers and sisters, and I'm not saying they haven't received us. They're just waiting for us to blow up first. And we respect those that come on the ground early on. You know what I mean? We respect those that want to grow with us. You know what I mean? As we're doing something that isn't being done, uh, like this. anywhere. There's nothing like this in
Yeah.
the whole Southeast vision. There's nothing on the Eastern Seaboard, Midwest, or the West. This is very different, very new piece of entertainment and of knowledge, and that we're spreading. Nothing is like this. But iHeartMedia, I must give them a shout out because they understand our vision. And there's
Hmm.
local stations that we've pitched to. They like it. They understand it. But where are they?
Yeah. Well, we're glad to see that our Black Press member, Upscale Magazine, is
Upscale
presented.
Magazine. Thank you so much for that. Upscale Magazine. They've always been a great supporter of mine, and now they are a great supporter of RMF, and I could not be more slap happier than I am because of what they're doing with us. I mean, come on, it's upscale, and that's what we're about.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They were
That's
they
the
were with
makeup
us
of what we're about.
this weekend. We had the annual Black Press NNPA conference, and the publisher was there. But we're running out of time, but we definitely want to make sure, if our Let It Be Known or Black Press family is interested, you can visit www.rmfalliance.com. That's rmfalliance.com. And we're talking about the third annual Radio, Music, and Film Summit. It returns to Atlanta. Star Power information August 15th and 16th. And it's just so great to see that you are still at the forefront of entertainment, but lifting up those to have the opportunities that you've had. Amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving us your platform on Black Press of America. That is, I love you for that. I really do. This is an amazing honor that you've given us here this morning so that we can share not only, a passion, but a very much large section of our hearts. And this is something that we feel greatly about, and we're still peeling off layers of who we are on this.
Well,
All
let me
right.
just say this too before we let them go. Radio, music, film, radio. I understand, and I did not know this. I think I saw this, Emmanuel. You have actually recorded some music.
I did. I
Tell us
did.
about that before you
Actually, I,
go.
I recorded something back in 1980. It was a single in Japan. It was called City Connection. I was about, I don't know, about 9, 10 years old or something like that. And we toured with it, and it went number one on the Billboard charts in Japan. For that time, it was I think it was 81 in November. So sometime in that month, we went to number one in the Billboard. So if anybody feels like they want to challenge your boy and look it up, holla at me. But I had it in my hand in black and white when I was
I
That's
see.
turning
right.
back over.
I was thinking I should go to karaoke with you. Now I changed my mind.
Ah, no, 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 no. That's Renee. Renee is the karaoke queen. I will entertain and I will howl at the moon.
All right,
Well, thank you so much for
Emmanuel
joining
Lewis.
us. Yes, Emmanuel Lewis, give it up. And you can
No,
catch
thank you
Webster.
guys.
Webster is airing on Tubi, so if you want to go back and check out some of those episodes, go to Tubi.
Listen, I love it. Webster's great. I enjoyed it. I learned a lot of lessons just as being a young person, growing up. I learned a lot of lessons from every episode that we have because, there's a lot of life lessons in there that I had never lived. And until, I read that script, I learned about a whole lot of things that, my mom protected me from that I knew nothing about. So it was a great lesson learning and vocabulary learning and life lesson all in one, just from every episode. So
Oh,
that
that's
was that was a
awesome.
great for me. But it not only taught me, but it taught America and all the different countries that it's been syndicated for around the world.
That
Right,
is
right.
awesome. Folks with their celebrity moms, obviously there are some exceptions. You're an exception, but the celebrity parents don't always come through for the child. But Wow, sounds like your mom was on top of things all the time.
Yeah, I've seen them. They're trying to party. They're trying to party. With them. They're trying to capture their youth. They're trying to capture whoever's in the room or whatever, and they're forgetting that they're a whole parent out there and leaving
A
their
whole
kids
parent.
to adults when and partying and drinking and doing all this crazy stuff. I could tell you stories,
I'm
but I
sure.
won't.
Yeah.
I will continue minding my business
That's
like a brother
right.
should.
All right.
Oh,
Well, we'll leave on that joyful laugh right there. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Absolutely. God bless you and thank you so much.
All right.
Emmanuel
Emmanuel
Lewis.
Lewis. That was fun. We have a couple more headlines to run through real quick. And then there was one, Stacy. Jail escapee Anton Macy was caught over the weekend after weeks on the run, and now there's only one left. They're looking for Derek Groves, who remains free.
Airbnb person, I understand, gave him up. An Airbnb owner gave him up. Massey.
Well, that's good. But they're saying now that be on the lookout. Derek Groves may have changed his appearance, and he might be going around as a woman. And so,
Well, hey.
I mean, hey, what was that? Some like it hot. Wasn't they running from the police and some like it hot?
That's right. That's right.
So hey, but moving along, if you're there, he is caught, detained, back to the New Orleans jail.
Yes, Dr.
So
Joni, there's one left, Dr. Joni.
yeah, one left, Derek Groves. And they say he might be has extremely changed his appearance and maybe going around disguised as a woman. I don't know why they haven't crossed the border yet. I would have been over the border, okay, sipping margaritas. But that's neither here nor there. I am not endorsing anything. But let's head to the West Coast where Kroger's, the home of Ralph's and Food for Less, are closing 60 of their stores here in California. And the closures are set to take place over the next 18 months. There's a lot happening. We started off the show talking about, the big ugly bill, just the impact that our country is having in a harmful way. Because not for Kroger's, but all of those individuals that are going to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
They're going to lose their jobs. And so, we'll just continue to tell these stories so you know what's happening. And last but not least, on a higher note, the New York Knicks, Stacy, have reached
How
out
about
to
that?
Don Staley about their head coach vacancy. If there was someone, it would be her.
That is incredible. That is an incredible. Even if they don't hire her, and I don't think they will at this point. They might. You never know with this front office. But that is such a statement. That Dawn Staley. This is the premier job in the NBA coaching ranks. The New York Knicks. Whatever you might think of the franchise, the history. It's if you can get a head coaching interview with the Knicks, the Lakers, the Celtics, that is huge. Just the interview itself. So Dawn Staley, we know, is a bona fide winner. Regardless, she's a bona fide winner. She wins again, regardless if she decides to, if the process moves forward with her interviewing, if she decides to take the job. She may not even be interested in the job, but the fact that her name is right up there is pretty amazing. Dawn Staley continues to just the greatest. You talk about the GOAT. They keep using that term, the GOAT, but there you're looking at the GOAT.
Yeah, she definitely. Her book is out now. If you want to check it out, it's Uncommon Favor. And we just for her, I think that if there was a female coach, she is set, to handle some men. She can handle the fellas.
And she
And
can
so
also handle the pressure. She can handle the heat.
mhm.
She's already proven that time and again. Nothing phases her.
Yeah, she's
Um,
just a great coach. She's a great coach, male or female. She is a great coach. And then moving over here to the West Coast, a lot going on with the Lakers. They have new ownership under the
LeBron
Dodgers.
leaving.
I told you this week, the weekend, y'all was looking at it like, no, no, and look at the headline that came out. I told you he, after the Dodgers, one of the owners of the Dodgers bought the Lakers for $10 billion. I said, I bet you LeBron is not going to sleep as comfortable as he did the night before. And then over the weekend, Chris, is it Chris Paul, his manager? No, not Chris Paul. Anyway,
Talking
his
about,
manager,
yeah. The one that dates Adele.
Adele. Yeah. Well, there's a statement coming out now that LeBron is basically open to be traded because he wants to win another championship. But I thought he came to the Lakers to win a championship. Okay, neither here nor there. A lot going on with the Lakers organization. I'm pretty sure Magic Johnson and the Showtime folks are happy about that because the Lakers are a star-studded winning team, and everybody in LA wants them to get back to that. So we'll see what happens to Bronny James, LeBron James, but the Lakers have a lot of information, a lot of things brewing over there, and it'll be interesting to see how everything turns out. And
I'm on
last but not,
record. Let me
go
go
ahead.
on record right now as a lifelong Knicks fan. I do not want LeBron James on the Knicks. I do not
You
want
sound
LeBron
like the Laker fan. You sound like the Laker fans. They didn't want him either, but he's here.
James.
And then we're 10 Sundays away. We're 10 Sundays away for the NFL. Everybody's excited about that. So get ready for that. And those are the rest of your headlines for today, Stacy.
And before I get to a black fact, I noticed that the West Side Gazette publisher Bobby Henry is watching, and I just want to say congratulations to Bobby Henry. He is leaving his post as the chair of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Dr. John Warren of the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint is taking over as the new chair. But Bobby, 2 years. Congratulations on those 2 years. And keep doing what you're doing down in South Florida. We appreciate you.
Yeah, much love,
Um,
much.
our black fact, black history fact. On this date, this is a sad one, folks, real sad one. In 1995, singer Phyllis Hyman died in New York City. She was just 45 years old. What a
Mm,
talent, an
right,
amazing talent. That
right, and
1995.
right. And to close out Black Music Month, we want to highlight the hippest trip in America. I'm talking about Soul Train, created by Don Cornelius. Soul Train debuted in October in 1971 as a nationally syndicated music dance television program. Of course, it was originally local in Chicago, but quickly gained popularity, competed with American Bandstand, and it showcased the best of African American talent. Everybody wanted to be on Soul Train.
Everybody wanted to be on Soul Train. I got a chance to meet Don Cornelius, and he wow, what a thing he put together. Wow,
Right.
amazing.
I did. Yeah, we did too out here in LA. And his son, Tony Cornelius, comes every year, or just about every year, to Taste the Soul. Really good friends with Mr. Bakewell here in LA. And so truly missed, but his legacy continues to live on.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, as Patricia Jackson said, some may have missed it. Walter Scott from The Whispers passed away as well over the
Hmm.
weekend. I believe he was what, 82, 83,
80,
something like that.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so keep losing folks. We keep losing folks. Our Black-owned newspaper of the day is Black Voice News. With solutions-focused, data-driven reporting, Black Voice News has tackled disparities in health, education, wealth, police violence, social justice, and civil rights. For over 4 decades, its journalists and community reporters have chronicled major stories shaping Black life in California, giving voice to the community and expanding civic engagement. Black Voice News is our Black-owned publication of the day. Check them out online, folks, and check out Black Press everywhere you at.
Yeah, and of course, there's a lot happening. The big ugly bill is definitely one of the biggest headlines of today. And if you want to know what's happening with it from Congressional Black Caucus members and from the Black perspective, definitely stay tuned all day to BlackPressUSA.com.
And again, folks, we apologize for the technical issues. We will see you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Let It Be Known.